Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility, alongside in the co-captain's chair, Mr. Scot Lade from the Prog corner. What's happening?
Greetings, Pete.
You got to go through the whole thing, man. Got to go.
Oh, you want the whole thing? I was being kind to your audience, but here we go. Greetings, salutations, respect and love to the great Pete Pardo and all the denizens of Sea of Tranquility land. I really need that Sea of Tranquility beanie, Pete, so I will be making a purchase from the merch shelf at SOT. That looked really cool the other day on you, by the way.
It's comfortable, and it comes in
Okay.
black or blue, so it's a nice little hat. I wear it frequently during the colder months.
There you
I
go.
alternate between that and my Gentle Giant hat. I love them both, so it's.
Oh yeah. I've worn mine a couple times, but I like to keep it plain because I'm a plain kind of guy. Just a vanilla, run of the mill type of guy. And I just want to thank you. This will be my 6th appearance on SOT. We're not counting or anything. We're not keeping track of view counts or anything like that. But obviously, you and I talking about music is something people are enjoying. So thanks for having me back. And this is a great topic we've got for everybody today, Pete.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming, Scott. I enjoyed doing these shows with you. And I reached out to Scott, I don't know, a week or two ago and said, hey, we're doing lots of kind of like wrap up the year shows on the channel, best ofs and all that kind of stuff. And I figure, why don't we get Scott on to just kind of talk about like what we saw in 2023 as far as the trends and prog releases and what was happening with the genre. And we'll hit on some of the key, I think, points that we saw quite a bit of during the course of the year, and then maybe we'll kind of take a little glimpse into the future of what we anticipate for next year, which is just a couple of days away in 2024. So I'll have Scott kind of kick us off here. We've got, we before we started talking, we went over some categories and things. I think we're on the same page about what we really saw for the most part in 2023. So I'll have
it was kind of a continuation of a lot of the stuff that we have been seeing, inside the prog genre for some time now. And the first element that I really wanted to bring up with you, we touched on just real briefly before we went on here, and that is a lot of the legacy acts coming, they're just not limping along anymore, man. It used to be if there was some dinosaur act put a record out, you could be guaranteed it would be terrible. But we got people like Uriah Heep and Jethro Tull and Trevor Rabin and yes, putting out amazing material. And obviously on the same wavelength. I mean, it's just insane. The quality of these releases is just phenomenal. You couldn't ask for anything more. And you're seeing some of them gravitate to a certain record label. And I have mixed feelings about that, but it is really good to see Thomas over there at Inside Out Music picking up a lot of these, quote unquote dinosaur acts. I don't care as long as they're making music as good as those bands we're talking about. I'd like to see a whole lot more because it doesn't take a whole lot to think of maybe some other legacy acts that could come back and could come back strong in 2024, because 2023 there was no shortage of them, that's for sure.
There was a lot. I mean, we mentioned some of the bigger ones here, but I just reviewed the new Aqua Fragile, right? An old Italian band, right? I mean, granted, it's maybe not quite up to par with their early stuff, but still it's pretty good. We saw a new release from Le Orme this year. We saw a new Rob's release. I mean,
Il Boletto da Bronzo came out with a new one that was good. Even the old dinosaur Italian bands coming up, and honestly, some of those revival albums from some of the RPI bands were not great in the past, but it's been a different story in 2023. A lot of these bands really stepping up their game, and that's really exciting to see, because there's a whole bunch more that could happen in 2024. So that was the first one I had in my list of 10 trends in prog rock. And the second one I had, Pete, was this prevalence of the reworked album. Peter Hamill just announced that 2 of his albums, he just did the Taylor Swift thing and totally re-recorded them. That's the way to go. Big Train just did that Ingenious Devices, where, hey, we got a new lead singer and we're going in a new direction, so let's just rework some old songs and slip one track in with Alberto Bravin, the new singer. Really cool. Scion, Robert Reed's act over there, he's done not 1 but 2 reworked versions of really good records from yesteryear. But bringing them up with modern production, with better musicians on board, just incredible. So that's another trend. I want to see more of. Nemo just re-recorded their first album. So, Pineapple Thief did that whole, that lockdown, acoustic thing. Nothing new. Marillion did it way back when. So we've seen it before, but it's something that seems to be an accelerating trend. And I'm all for it because
I think it works if the album in question is not like close to the edge, right? If it's something that maybe is little known. I mean, the Cyan thing is a perfect example. I mean, those were little known albums from 30 plus years ago. So to redo them with today's technology, maybe with a current band, for the many people who never heard them back then, that's totally fantastic. And I think that's where it really works. If you're going to take something that's beloved and is popular anyway, maybe we don't really need to hear that. But
we're not talking about Roger Waters here, are we?
Well, I mean, I never listened to that, so I had
notice I didn't mention that one.
Yeah, I had no interest in that. Sorry, Lewis, if you're watching. Sorry, I know you really like that Reworking by him, but yeah, I mean, to me, that I'm not really all that interested in. But taking very obscure albums and maybe redoing them again for modern ears, I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, and the Cyan example is a perfect example because I knew about Cyan. I might have listened to their music way back when, but I didn't remember any of it. Hearing it reimagined, just really exciting, really fresh. And do you have another point, a next point? Because I got something right here that has been driving me crazy, Pete. It's just, it's one of those things that I'm an older guy, man. I'm a boomer, and I love the epic tracks, man. But I'm finding a lot of these bands are like splitting them up. Trying to get as much streaming revenue as possible, perhaps, or maybe distancing themselves from the dinosaur acts of the 70s. But every year I do a list of the best epics of the year, and 2023 really didn't have that many. So the dirge of the epic is something I'm seeing going forward, as a lot of younger bands, they just want to do younger songs. Maybe it's an age thing, but I'm not seeing a whole bunch of epics. That's why that new Moon Safari album was so exciting with that 21-minute epic on it. People like the Flower Kings haven't done an epic in 10 years.
I was just going to say, can we blame the Flower Kings? I think we can blame the Flower Kings for this.
Yeah.
I mean, they did it to death, and you have to wonder if we've hit upon a little bit of epic song fatigue, right?
That could be it.
Honestly, I'm not all that mad about.
Yeah.
Because I think, to me, I don't mind. Listen, I think a good 10 to 15-minute song in the right hands is a thing of beauty. But I don't want every band to do 20 and 25-minute long songs. And I think you mentioned the Moon Safari, which we'll get to kind of Norway in a minute. But I think what really makes this album really, really great for me is that you have these really engaging, catchy, shorter songs, and you have these really cool, adventurous, challenging, longer songs, and they all work well together. That I like. I don't want an album these days of 5 tracks, 80 minutes long, and every song is 20 plus minutes.
Right.
I'm not really all that interested in that anymore. That's just me, though.
It's been done before. So, I understand bands want to do their own thing. They don't want to be, linked to, that's just like Close to the Edge or any other of the seminal records of yesteryear. And, one of the things that's really exciting to me is there's something going on in South London, Pete. And I know you're hip to it, but there's some bands that I don't know if they're prog or not, but are we experiencing a fourth wave of prog with bands like Black Midi and Black Country New Roads? I mean, this is like a whole new vein of prog rock that we're only just now seeing what could happen with this, because it's it's a bunch of young cats doing their thing, and you're seeing like this technology clusters they talk about in economics all the time. These tech companies all want to be close together like the used car dealerships do, but when you see all this talent grouped together geographically so close, it makes me think of like the early 70s in London, right? Where you had so much talent all grouped there, and they all want to play at the same couple of clubs, the UFO or the Marquee, and you're seeing a little bit of that going on. In the UK, it's exciting because these are guitar rock bands that have a very progressive leaning. And hey, Bill Bruford has given his seal of approval for Black Midi as being a prog band. That's good enough for me. I want to see more of this stuff because Squid, such a great band. So many cool bands. Shame, I really love their latest album. Really cool thing happening in the South London guitar rock, maybe fourth wave of prog, and I'm excited to see what happens in 2024.
And it's bleeding over into other genres as well from the UK scene, from the London scene, because you've got not only these cool prog bands, you've got all these psych bands that are popping up. You got these kind of like psych stoner bands, like Green Lung is another one right from that area. You've got
so good.
Haken leading the charge on the prog metal side. You got all these other prog metal bands popping up from the London scene. So it's kind of bleeding through everything. And
it really is. And even in more like pop bands like Wet Leg, those two girls, they're sounding eerily close to prog to these ears. So it's really exciting to see what could happen with that over there. And I think the UK's always had a bit of an advantage because, everything's closer together. So it's easier to create the necessary combustible material to create an explosion, and I'm really hoping to see some of those bands explode because I'm excited about it.
Yeah, because we can't keep we love what we're going to talk about it fairly soon. We love what's going on in Scandinavia, but they can't steal all the thunder forever, right?
That's
you got to
right.
hope that the UK is going to catch up once again, because the UK was where it was all at many years ago.
And I think as we get into the Scandinavian thing, it's the perfect example of how you get this cluster of talent, of like-minded people that just want to do adventurous and creative things. That's pretty exciting to me. So we met. Oh, I already did. We talked about that one, but you talked about the Moon Safari record, right? And the one thing that really surprised me about it was not its level of excellence, because I figured if you give those guys 10 years, man, they're going to come up with something good. I didn't think it was going to be that good, but I'm hearing some different sounds on this record that I wasn't hearing on Himmelbach Volume 1 or Lover's End or Bloomeljude. I'm hearing some pretty aggressive, jinty sounding guitars, squealing guitar. No one's ever going to confuse them for a prog metal band or anything, but those are different sounds for Moon Safari. And I'm hearing that heavier edged guitar tone being used as a compositional technique, as more than just, I hear that kind of guitar, so it must be that kind of music. So that heavier edge, and maybe it's just because a lot of younger cats are getting into the game. They're listening to different kinds of music and they're used to Meshuggah. They grew up on that stuff. That's not weird to them. So, when they decide to form a prog band, maybe a little bit of that bleeds into it. But I'm hearing a bunch of that in places all over the map in 2023. And that's pretty cool. It's just painting with a different, colored paintbrush. So
yeah,
that's one of the things
a lot of these bands, they got to start bringing some new things to the table, right? Because as much as we all love the greats of the 70s, it's I think a lot of people, they want that familiar sound, but they want bands to start breaking into new areas to progress, right? That's what it's all about. I think the Moon Safari is great because for me, it touches on a lot of what I love about a lot of different types of music. It's got these wonderful vocal harmonies and melodies all throughout the album. So it reminds me of stuff that I love, like Styx and, Queen and Electric Light Orchestra and Supertramp and Cats in Space. And then you have the guitar oriented stuff that you just mentioned, and then you got the long tracks, the shorter tracks. There's good just rock based stuff on here. There's lush pop on here. It's got a little bit of everything. I like that. And that album blew me away. It's I never really
maybe it's kind of a blueprint for other bands, future bands. You can do different things on the same album and still have a cohesive piece of art. They definitely accomplished it. They knocked it out of the park, Pete. But we were talking about here we go. Vocals, right? And I think, to me, one of the things that I've noticed, one of the trends that I've noticed, and man, I'm so happy about it, is that a lot of bands in the prog sphere, they were either instrumental because they knew their vocal limitations, or they had vocals because they did not know their vocal limitations. That is unfortunate. Man, I'm hearing all kinds of exceptions to that rule lately. Wow, oh wow. Man, oh man, I just off the top of my head, I just jotted down a couple of these modern prog singers. Damian Wilson, that guy can sing, my friend. Yeah, Evershift. This is the only piece of vinyl they have. They got 4 albums, only the first one's on vinyl. But the singer Bo West, so good. You got guys like Ted Leonard from Pattern Seeking Animals.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you're hip to Jargon from Verbal Delirium. He's also singing with Drifting Sun now. Amazing vocals. Andres Presmo from Wobbler and the Chronicles of Father Robin. Yep. I mean, if that guy popped up in a band in the 70s, you'd be thinking, he just fit right in. He's one of the great singers of modern prog. And then you had Moon Safari, like you said. What about what Nick DiVirgilio and Neil Morris and Ross Jennings are doing? The vocals are really starting to become less of a sticking point, right? Because I know for my wife, for example, I think the vocals are a big sticking point, because a lot of times if these prog bands had vocals, they might not have been great. Pete Jones from the aforementioned Scion and Camel, Tiger Moth Tales. What a voice on that guy. Mark Truiak from Unitopia, just so incredible. Hasse Froberg, Hannah Pryor from Glass Hammer. You could just go on and on. It's just amazing. Dominique Leonetti from Lazuli. We are blessed with some incredible vocalists, and that to me is really exciting. And I really I welcome the change, man.
And you bring up a good point. And I think the bands who maybe don't think they have that superstar singer, they're not afraid to do mostly instrumental stuff. I mean, I do have to bring it up, and we've talked about it a lot here on the channel over the last week, and I just reviewed it this morning. I mean, this band Squeaky Feet.
Yeah.
Which from the West Coast, and this is mostly instrumental, but the vocal songs are really good. But I think they know that, all right, maybe we don't have that superior vocalist in the band. We can sing, but let's let our instrumental talents take over for the most part on the album. So you have an album that's 3/4 instrumental, the other quarter vocal, and it really works. And it's
absolutely
stuff,
and I just listened to that album last week for the first time. Never even heard of this band before, but a lot of my YouTube friends were talking about it. So I listened to it, and what came to mind about it was just how smart it is. They don't sound anything like them, but just the use of vocals made me think of Happy the Man. Talk about understanding exactly where you are. They could have done vocals in most of their songs, or they could have gone completely instrumental, but they knew exactly the right amount to put in the records to make those first 2 Happy the Man records great. That Squeaky Feet record's great. Yeah.
Awesome. It's so good.
I'm really liking that one a lot.
So good.
And one of the things that I'm digging about a lot of modern prog albums is the running lengths, right? We're starting to get away from this weird fascination with the CD era, which CD sales peaked in 2004, people, or something like that. Let's get away from the idea that an album needs to be 78 minutes long. It does not. The greatest records of all time usually were way shorter than that. So you're starting to see a lot of bands understanding that. And I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but my entire top 5 this year conformed to the idea of a 40-minute album. And
that's a good point. I'm looking at my list right now, and I don't think any of my top 10 are over an hour.
Yeah.
They're all between 40 and 50 minutes. And you know what? I had a lot on my top 31 this year that were like 35 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about that. It's kind of refreshing, actually, where you get maybe 7 to 10 tracks, 35, 38, 40 minutes, and that's it. And it's like you don't get bored, you don't feel bogged down, and when it's over, you want to listen to it again.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to just like what you talked about, the old days, which is not that long ago, where you would get almost every new album would be 75 plus minutes.
Oh, yeah.
By the time you're at the 50-minute mark, you're kind of like, all right.
Yeah. But you kind of felt cheated if you didn't get all that, know how much music a CD could contain. You wanted it all, but you want
your money's worth, right? You want your money's worth. Yeah. But they can fit 80 minutes on a CD. Why don't they? Now we know why they don't, right? So,
I just remember how special I approached physical graffiti to the rest of Zeppelin's category, it was supposed to be different. The White Album, Tales from Topographic Oceans, Lamb Lies Down and Broadway, it meant something if it
Double
was a
album is
double
supposed
album.
to be special and
That's
not
right.
not every album needs to be a double album.
No, no.
You hit the nail on the head right there. That is exactly the way it should be. The double album should be really special in the catalog, not every album.
It doesn't need to be that way. It gets to be a little much. You mentioned the Flower Kings, and maybe they might have been the kings of that excess, but even their latest album clocked in at a tidy little 65-minute runtime. So, you know, we appreciate that. Short for them, that's like an EP, man. And so you're seeing still some some exceptions to the rule. Inside Out still seems to be in love with the bonus disc. Mirror to the Sky still had an annoying bonus disc attached to it. And it's really hard to wrap your mind around whether those 3 songs are part of the album proper or not. Yeah. It's a little weird. It's a little annoying, but
the instrumental versions of the vocal tunes, it's like,
Man, do I need that? Really?
Yeah. I find a lot of that stuff I listen to once and I never go back to it again.
Yeah.
If you're a vocal band, you're a vocal band for a reason, right? I want to hear the vocals. I don't know. But I know people who love the instrumental mixes of things. They're like,
yeah. So I can't, it just doesn't excite me. I don't know. I sometimes it's best not to see how the sausage is made, Yeah. But there was something else I was gonna say before we get into the biggie. And the biggest thing that I'm seeing in 2023 as far as prog rock goes absolutely had to be the rise of a certain part of the world, right? I mean, it just seemed like it was building up, and it's just out of control right now what's going on in Sweden and Norway. 4 of my top 5 were from that region, like 6 of my top 10, and it's nothing really new. These aren't really new trends, because if you look back, even back in the 70s, right, you had a version of Kaipa around. You had bands like Samla Mamas Mana, and Bo Hansen was roaming around. So that part of the world knew Parlind Project. So they knew all about prog in the 70s, but that third wave of prog really did kind of start in Scandinavia with bands like Anecdoten and Anglagard and Sinkadus and all that stuff. But man, oh man. So you knew something was brewing, but it's been just so refreshing. I mean, you could just go through. I'm going to do a little something here. First of all, Sweden, man. We're going to break it down. Sweden. How about Opeth? They're from Sweden, right? We mentioned Anecdoten. Okay. Well, if Anglagard didn't release anything, what about All Traps on Earth? Did you hear this thing, Pete?
Oh yeah, I have it.
Oh man. Yeah, the Flower Kings. Yeah, we like to poke fun at them, but I'm a humongous fan. I love every single one of their albums, so I'm allowed to poke at them about their deficiencies, of which there are a few, but I just love them and everything that they stand for. Roy Nastalt, an absolute genius. He's not just part of that. He was in Kaipa back in the 70s. Kaipa came back with him in it. I just got this today, Pete, from the great Ken Golden. The reissue. Just reissued this great piece of vinyl. Just amazing. It's not just Roy Nastalt and that Flower Kings band. I love the Hasse Froberg Musical Companion. Such an amazing band. A little bit more AOR and stuff. Yep. And let's not forget John Anderson's best album since Elias of Sunhillow. It was all Swedish musicians, man. It's basically the Flower Kings with the Lally Larson. Just an amazing record. My number 4 album of the year was a Gusa. I just love it. And then we mentioned this Moon Safari, man. Just what's going on with Sweden, man? It's just crazy. It's just insane. And then Pete Pardo. My number 1 album of the year. It was the Chronicles of Father Robin. All 3. Just love them so much. Yordzio. I got the new one behind me, but this is one that came out before it. Man, oh man. Tusmork. Yes. I love Tusmork. Such a crazy,
Yeah,
wild,
I
creepy
can't
band.
help myself. I have to show it again because I think this is like one of the most genius little pieces of artwork we've seen in a while. Yep, the toad enjoying himself and then having a smoke afterwards.
This
Classic.
is such a cool record.
Oh yeah, it's really
Can we
good.
show the front? I mean, I just covered her up.
Uh,
And of course, the
we got
father.
this great one, you know. I mean,
Yeah, you know, it all starts to me with Wobbler. They were really the band that got
yeah,
me super excited about, you know, what was going on in Norway. And of course, you just showed the keyboard player's debut solo album, Lars Fredrik Frøsli. How good is Airbag, man? You talk about these Norwegian bands understand how to take a little bit of the retro, but not be like all in with the retro. Airbag, maybe a little bit of Pink Floyd in them. Seven and Pale, maybe a little bit of King Crimson in them.
Arabs and Aspic.
How about a little Arabs and Aspect, man? I was just gonna say these guys are amazing. Gazpacho maybe has just a little bit of Radiohead in them, but whatever. I love them. Magic Pie, such an amazing band. And a dude named Anders Baus just contacted me. Norway's version of Mike Oldfield. So cool hearing Marco Minimum and a dude playing a banjo. What in the world, man? Only in Norway. Ring Van Mobius.
Yes.
It just goes on and on, Pete. I don't understand. But I harken back to these like technology clusters where groups of like-minded individuals, early 70s in London, right now in Scandinavia. It's just crazy. My mind can't really wrap itself around how good the musical output's been in those two countries in the last 5 years, and in particular the last couple. Insane.
Yeah, and I think, and we've got, you know, two record labels that come to mind, right? You know, Charisma and Apollyon Records are both releasing all sorts of stuff from the Scandinavian region in the prog genre that will blow your mind. And that's just talking about progressive music. And then if you go and you start looking at like heavy psych and stoner and doom stuff, you've got even more, like especially from Sweden. It's just mind blowing. Finland too. It's just all this great retro music coming out of Scandinavia right now that is, to me, just head and shoulders above what anybody else is doing.
And you mentioned Charisma and Apollon, and it seems like their relationship is similar to the relationship a lot of these other bands have, and that they work together. They're not like, you know, competing necessarily. They actually share the same office space. So they're not, you know, they're not trying to kill each other. They're actually trying to create a situation where a rising tide lifts all boats. And I think, you know, some of those Scando countries have a different social construct where I think they actually help some musicians and subsidize some artistic endeavors, which would just be anathema to an American brain. You know, pay your own way, man. I'm not paying for the arts. You're crazy. That's the first thing to go from the public schools. We don't need that music teacher coming in, teaching our kids about stuff like that. Heck no. But I think it's a little different in Sweden and Norway, and it's beginning to pay dividends big time.
Yeah. And, you know, we didn't even mention another Swede, Arjen Lucason's Supersonic Revolution, man, which was, again, maybe that's a little bit on the heavier end of things, but still it's kind of proggy. It's kind of heavy and hard rocky. And he's always coming up with something, whether it be prog metal or prog. I mean, he's been in the middle.
I love him. He's amazing. But that's the Netherlands we're talking about.
Oh, Netherlands. I'm sorry. Yeah, I said Sweden. Sorry. I'm getting so
I get all that stuff mixed up, but
if you're watching, sorry to the Dutchman, sorry.
Well, you know, and I figured, you know, your people on Sea of Tranquility, they wouldn't have let that slide, Pete. So I figured I'd calm the comments down a little bit there. But yeah, you know, I am so excited about what prog rock has to offer in 2024, and honestly, I feel like we're a big part of the equation. I don't mean to sound like a megalomaniac, Pete Pardo, but you know, when I see, you know, an album review by me or one of my YouTube colleagues actually help move the needle in terms of our little prog community's awareness about a band or an album, it's really gratifying. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that, where bands, artists, labels, promoters understand the personal impact, the impact that we have, the personal contact that we have with the people that watch our videos, because they know we're not going to steer them wrong. You've got no vested interest. I don't see them paying your bills. So yeah, I know you're going to be a straight shooter. My people know that I'll always be honest with them. And I think as bands start realizing this, it creates a really good feedback loop, because let's face it, they can't have constant contact with all their fans. So they can use us a little bit as a conduit. And, you see that across all social media platforms. It's not just YouTube, but honestly, I think we have a greater impact than print. You see, all these people on different forums all across the internet. And I don't think it has the same impact at all, because, words are cheap. You see somebody's face, you see the emotion, you see Scott's face turn bright red when he gets excited about a topic. There's certain things you can't fake, so. And,
I mean, it's if we like something, we're going to say it. If we don't like it, we're going to say it. I mean, it's, a perfect example. So again, we had another new release from Steven Wilson this year. We haven't even talked about him. Will we see something else from him in 2024? Probably, likely. A lot of people really love that new Steven Wilson.
I love that thing, man. I do.
That's what I said, but I'm not going to say I love it just because people think that I should say that, right? It's like, and I love Steven Wilson.
Yeah. Hey, he didn't fly us to one of those private immersive listening experiences,
No.
I saw some of our colleagues over there in the UK, Neve, the prog nerd, the great Jim Newstead. They were invited to that event. That would have been pretty cool, hobnobbing with John Mitchell and, whomever else might have walked in the room with Steven Wilson and his brand new record. I love it, man. Steven Wilson, definitely one of the guiding lights in prog. And, kind of where he goes, we're probably going to follow a little bit. We're kind of in his wake, because he is the biggest name in the modern prog sphere. So, keep your eyes on what Steven Wilson's doing, and that's going to give you a real good indicator of where prog is probably going to go in the future. And I'm okay with that. We got to have somebody. We got to have a leading light. Thank God it's somebody I really enjoy, and not some joker putting out crap music. So, we got Steven Wilson.
When it comes to him, I will always listen.
Yeah.
I may not always love all of it, right? Because I've loved a lot of it, and I haven't loved some of it, but and I don't love that new one. There's some good stuff on it. I think it's better than the one before it, big time. But I'm always willing to listen. I appreciate his talents and his vision, and just like I listen to all his remixes and all that stuff. I mean, I just whatever he does, I'm going to check out. Doesn't mean I have to like it, right? There's nothing saying I should and I have to, but I'm always going to give us an honest take, and that's kind of what I do. So, yeah.
And that's why people listen to you. And, one of the things I would like to see, not a prediction, but one of the things I would like to see is perhaps promoters, venues. We got to find a way to create a little national network for European bands in particular to tour the United States in an economically feasible way. It's such a big country. Logistically, it becomes such a huge problem for bands, and it's usually a financial loss for bands to do a U.S. tour. So there's got to be a mechanism, a way that there's got to be a business model that we can get our favorite bands to at least play a couple dates on the East Coast, a couple dates on the West Coast, and maybe a couple in the middle. And so I miss that, but I'm just happy.
Put 2 or 3 notable bands together on a little tour.
Maybe that'll work.
Play a half a dozen dates across the country, and boom, there you go.
I'd love to see it.
The Flower Kings can't come over here and do a tour all on their lonesome. It just doesn't work that way. You can't get Wobbler over here to do a 10-city tour all on their own. You gotta lump them together and make it worthwhile for them. Pick the right venues in the right cities, and people will come.
Yep. And that's why I'm so excited that a big train is coming to the U.S. It's only 4 dates, I think.
2 dates at the same venue in New Jersey. I saw that and I was like, what?
Yeah. And 1 in Boston, I think. And that is it. So I will be in Fort Wayne, Indiana for Big Train's first ever U.S. show. We need a lot more of that in 2024.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully
Yeah.
that'll be the precursor to more to come. But
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, though.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, unfortunately, sadly, that's just the brutal nature of the business in 2024 is that touring's for Taylor Swift and Beyonce.
Yeah, either that or we need more U.S. prog bands.
Yeah, yeah,
that has a lot to do with it also.
I'd never say no to more prog bands, Pete.
Yeah, I hear you.
But the more the merrier, and that's the thing that's so exciting is I probably listened like 250 prog albums in 2024, new ones, and man, I just scratched the surface. It's just scary seeing these year-end lists pop up. It's like, nope, haven't heard that one. Nope, haven't heard that one. It's like, how? I did nothing but listen to new.
I haven't even listened to the new Universe Zero.
Wow, yeah,
haven't heard it.
That's
I didn't hear the new Learme either. How was that possible?
Because there's just too much.
It's way too much.
And with you, I mean, I just do prog, so you would think, right? I would have it pretty much down pat. You have an excuse, man. You listen to so many the metal and the rock and the prog and the jazz. So
Fusion,
you're forgiven.
Yeah.
But no, Pete, this was a lot of fun.
There's no excuse, Pete. You got to listen to everything.
That's every single one. No excuse. Yes, that's why Santa put some coal in your stocking for Christmas, didn't he? I hope you had a good one, though.
I did, Scott, and hopefully you as well. And awesome. But I'm ready for let's do it 2024. So hopefully next year we'll be sitting down here once again, kind of doing a even different type of recap. We'll see. We'll see what the year holds for us. So
that's right. Hey, you never know. And I like sitting down with you once in a blue moon. We come up with a topic. We mull it over for a little while. No pressure, no deadline. The people aren't expecting Martin Popoff at a certain time every week. I'll just pop up on SOT whenever and take the world by storm. But I want to thank you before we go. And before you hit stop, because I want the world to know just how appreciative I am and how much of an impact you've had on my channel since my first appearance on SOT in August, I think it was. I've almost doubled my subscribers. It's just insane. I look at the analytics and it's like, yep, it's like BC and AD, right? It's like, before SOT and after SOT, it is obvious in the analytics. And I know I'm no dummy. I know what side of the bread gets the butter. And I really appreciate you, Pete. And I hope you have a happy new year. And you'll be hitting 100K probably like in March. So that's exciting.
Well, I don't know if it'll happen in March, but we're almost at 91 now. So I'm hoping by the summer, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it'll happen before you know it. Those types of things. So very exciting. You get the plaque at 100K, right?
That's what I'm told. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it.
That looked good right there, man. The YouTube plaque. Oh yeah, you worked hard for it. Come on. Think about the number of hours Pete Pardo puts into Sea of Tranquility each and every week. It's amazing. My hat goes off to you because I put in probably about 10% of that. So I just am amazed every time I go onto your channel and see the hard work that you do. You and all your collaborators, great group. And I am just so happy to be a peripheral part of the team, Pete.
Thank you, Scott. Happy to have you. And this was fun, as I knew it would be. So that's our year-end Prog wrap-up, folks. If you have anything to add to the conversation, put it down in the comments below. And we'll see you in January because, the train doesn't stop moving. That big train of Prog ends on the 21st, and then the new year starts. And we got new stuff that's already coming in for 2024. So
that's right. And I'm going to plug my big year-end show, Pete, because I think you'll probably air this before Sunday. The year-end show, the Sunday Prog stream every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Me and my friends, we just get together, talk about prog rock. And this week's episode is going to be best album closers to close out the year, man. Why not? It's a topic I haven't discussed on the channel yet, so seemed to make sense. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Beyond that, I have no idea. I do not plan out what I do on the channel at all. I just completely go by ear. except for the Sunday show. We've been trying to actually coordinate that, but yeah, so that's what's up on the Prog Corner, Pete. Have a happy new year, man.
Cool. You too.
Stay
Scott,
safe.
and everybody out there, enjoy. Happy New Year to all of you. From Scott, I am Pete. Have a good one. We'll see you on the flip side, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Peace.